My name is Kavita Melwani, and I am a multi-certified intuitive success coach. I want to personally welcome you to Aligned and Soulful Success, where we empower soulful empaths, sensitives, and conscious leaders to confidently align with their purpose and opulently shine their light without the hustle. Together, we will explore challenges and real implementable solutions so you can step into your unique purpose and shine. It is possible to bridge the success that you already have with the truest, soulful, mystical parts of yourself. Are you ready to rise up? Then listen in. And welcome. My name is Kavita Melwani, and you are listening to Aligned and Soulful Success. And in this podcast, we focus on, or should I say, I focus on topics so that you can have your desired level of success in your business and life. Okay, so this week I am talking about why it's important to have structure, especially if you're creative. So before you decide, I'm not listening to this, I don't like structure, I don't like processes, I don't like having systems in place. And even if those words for some creative, especially creative entrepreneurs can bring up a lot of emotion and not pleasant emotion. Okay. I want you to consider that structure, those systems are actually the way to freedom. Okay. So hear me out a little bit. So have you ever been in a situation where you're sitting and you're thinking about how you're going to spend your day? Now, if you are an entrepreneur that has maybe some commitments to others, like if you work with clients, you might have client sessions, um, or if you have appointments with other people, you're maybe a networking group or something like that, right? So you have some of those appointments on your calendar, right? And so you look at your day and you say, oh, I have this appointment at noon and this at 2. And then there's the space in between that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to decide how you're going to spend that time. Okay. Now, how often has it happened to you where you think, oh, I have 2 hours. In those 2 hours, I'm going to get so much done. I'm going to get all the things done. And then the rest of the day is free or whatever you want to do. Right. And then when you're in the middle of those 2 hours, there are so many other things that come up. Maybe you have, um, if you use email, which we still all most of us do, right? You're checking your email. Or maybe you get onto a social media platform and with the intention of posting something, but then you get distracted because you're scrolling. Okay. Or maybe you get some phone calls coming in and you answer those. Or maybe there's some things if you work from home that you need to do around the house. And so before you know it, 2 hours has passed. And well, you look at what you actually got done in that time, it really wasn't what you thought you could. Okay. So that's probably because you had all this openness and almost it was such a big space for you, and maybe 2 hours isn't, but like a bigger space and time and there was no kind of structure. It was like, oh, I'm just going to get these things done, right? And then they don't get done. And then this happens and a week passes or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like if you have things that you've been writing down and that you want to finish, and those are the things that are going to move your business forward and move your life forward, and you're not getting them done, right? There's a reason. So some of that is because it could be resistance because of maybe it's going to make some changes in your life. And so your subconscious mind is resisting those changes. And then a lot of it is maybe you don't also have the structure, right, in place. So working on how can you create the structure for yourself. So let me use the same example to help illustrate that structure. Okay, so you have 2 hours in between calls, okay, and you spend 5 minutes planning. Okay, 5 minutes, doing a brainstorm of all the things that you need to do. You prioritize the things that are not that you maybe enjoy, right? But actually the things that are going to get you to move you towards your goals, right? Move you towards your desires, what you want to create, the intentions you set maybe at the beginning of the year, right? So you pick those things and you focus on one or two and you decide when you're going to do it. So let's say you had a call from 12 to 1 and you say, okay, from 1 to about 1:30. Okay, I'm going to spend this time working on calling two people, then getting back in touch with these people. Okay. So just an example. Okay. And so you've created a little bit of structure. You've started to focus and be clear about what you want to spend your time doing. And now that half an hour that you spent on that is going to help you move towards your goals. And then how does that create more freedom for you? Because I'll tell you why. You're not moving these tasks to each and every day. It's not taking up your mental space and time because you're thinking about things that you haven't done yet. Okay. And that now that you have put down and maybe scheduled the things that you need to do and you've created some kind of system for yourself, right? So then you don't have to spend the mental energy and time thinking about what am I going to do during this time, but you've created that structure. Now you have the freedom. With the other time, your brain is free, your mind is free. You have the freedom to just be and be creative and not think about all the things, right? And you're not spending time thinking about the things you need to do and want to do, right? And then it also gives you some kind of picture of what's actually possible for you to focus on in the time that you have, right? So most people, I don't remember where I read this. It was a while back, but most people underestimate by about 30% how long something's going to take. Okay? And so if you're one of those people that feels like there's just not enough time for things, you're underestimating how long things are taking, and it's taking you a lot of mental energy and time. And it is, when you're worried and you're stressed about things, that does zap your creativity, right? That does not promote creativity. Okay. So if you want to enhance your creativity, it's best to have like the sense of, think of like the first chakra, right? That grounding, that like, oh, yes, I have that kind of structure. I'm feeling that safety, all right, by having these things in place. And then I'm free to use my creative energy in ways to actually create, right? In ways that move me towards my desires, in ways that I can, spend the time with people that I love, right? Instead of being somewhat present, right? Because you're kind of a little bit maybe concerned and worried about things that are going on, right? So this kind of creating that structure is the way to actually having that freedom time, okay? Now, I gave the example of tasks and scheduling things on your calendar, right? So that is just one way that you can create structure and systems, right? And other systems that you can have is like, okay, for instance, like when I am ready to record a podcast, what is the system that I have in place? Okay. And so if I know when I'm going to record, right? Every week. If I know, if I've planned out my topics, right? If I kind of have a structure outline, I've already written them out my episodes, then there's like more freedom, right? There's more space, right? I know when this is going to happen. Then I know the steps after I record the podcast, right? And then I know what I'm going to do with it instead of, let me flip that. Okay. Oh, I have a podcast I record every week. I'm not sure when I'm going to fit it in. Let me see on my calendar where I can find the time. And then you end up maybe doing it last minute, or I record it last minute. And then okay, so what am I going to do this week with the podcast? How am I going to let people know that it's available? And then you start to think about that and trying to create that in the moment, right? Instead of the calm, grounded version, right? Of that structure being in place so that you can do this podcast and get it done and know that you know what you're going to do with that. And then guess what? When I'm in those places, and I will confess I've done both, okay? But when I'm in the place where I have a structure, I have it on my calendar, I have it scheduled, um, I just feel more creative because that time, instead of thinking about when I'm going to do it or how am I going to do the podcast, I get to brainstorm ideas. I'm more present with what's going on for me, right? And I know some the challenges that I face, a lot of my clients are facing, and it's what I'm hearing, right? And so that I can be more creative and come up with more strategies and solutions there instead of just trying to catch up. Okay. Just trying to get it done. And that's not creative. That's not freedom. That feels like a weight, feels like something that I have to do. Right. So I just gave the example of a podcast and business. And maybe you're listening to this and you don't have a business, or you're thinking about having a business, or maybe you're more of a person that, is in a job and, you are wanting to cultivate that entrepreneurial mindset. So wherever you are, you can use this to promote creativity. So I'm going to ask you to take one step and look at where is it that you can create some structure, some process that of something that maybe is a constant worry, right? That would probably be the best way to look so that you can have the freedom and open up that creative energy, and you can have the freedom to be able to create more. So if you know what that is, I'd love to hear what you come up with, right? So then, you can send me a message, and I'd love to hear what structure you've come up with. Or if you need help with that, you can message me and say, "I'm thinking of this. Do you have an idea of how I can create structure?" That's one of my strengths, is to help with that. So then, if you haven't heard already, I am next Friday, the March 10th, on March 10th at noon on Pacific time. I'm holding a free masterclass on finding your niche to attract your dream clients. Okay. And, I think that this is a struggle that I hear all the time. So in this class, my goal is that you actually leave with some clarity. You're not going to just attend and just hopefully listen and not receive anything. I want this to be interactive. If you can show up live, I'm going to coach you through during the class. Okay. But if you can't make it, just go ahead and register, and then you'll have the recording. It'll be available for about 7 days afterwards. And so I'd love to have you there if that's something that you're interested in. If you are kind of feeling lost, you're doing a bunch of things, but you're just not attracting your dream clients, then this is for you. And even if you're considering coming, if there's a part of you that thinks that you could benefit, come. I'd love to have you there. So next week, I will talk more about the unconscious mind. I have some fun topics coming up I'm excited about. And in the meantime, take good care. This is Kavita with Aligned and Soulful Success. Thank you for joining us for Aligned and Soulful Podcast. To view the show notes and all the links that I mentioned in today's episode, please visit alignedandsoulfulpodcast.com. That's also where you can download my free gift, which is an abundance visualization and exercise to help you unlock your abundance. And so also, before you go, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you can receive new episodes right when they're released. You can subscribe right now in the app that you're listening to this podcast on. And thank you again for joining me for Aligned and Soulful. This is Kavita Melwani. I will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Bye.